What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about the Blade rumored year that this thing is going to be releasing. Look, we've talked a lot about this over the last couple of weeks, getting announced at the Game Awards, then just trying to figure it out, right? Piece it all together. Well, how long has it been in the works for? And they actually have revealed that themselves, right? So I believe this January, just a few days from now, will be 2 years since they started development. So then you start thinking, okay, well, pre-production or full-on production, well, how much longer do we have to wait? And you can throw, years at the wall and see which one sticks, and you could probably come up with, well, you start back in 2022 and then you just add from there. So if it takes 5 years to make this game, 2027. If it takes 6 years, 2028. And starting at the very beginning of the year, that's something you also have to consider. But right before Christmas, much like I did with my other video talking about God of War, these are like the right before Christmas news stories that I was already done recording. I wasn't gonna, put on the camera and green screen for. But we had Jeff Grubb talking about that he has heard 2027 is the year. Now, as with everything, Jeff Grubb, for the love of God, take it with a grain of salt. We've talked about him in the past. I mean, just in the last couple months, he's had his hits and he's had his misses, at least in my opinion. So his hits, he actually correctly threw out that there would be a Jurassic Park game at the Game Awards, which is something very you're not going to pull that out of your hat randomly. Somebody has to tell you something like that. You're not just going to say, oh, I predict a random IP is going to appear. So he absolutely nails it, sometimes at least. There are other times where he talks about Mass Effect being in 2029 that I think is just absolutely ridiculous, or his back and forth on the KOTOR remake where he can't make up his mind. There are situations where he's gotten things right, wrong, or kind of undecided. We haven't figured out if he's right or wrong on it yet, right? But for something like this, and you could even remove it completely from his win-loss record, right? This absolutely makes sense for the reasons we just said, right? You start in January of 2022, add 5 years, you're at the beginning of 2027. So if you even go closer into 2020, if you think fall, say, of 2027, that is almost 6 years, right? So that makes a ton of sense to me. Now, they were speculating, not Jeff Grubb, although he threw his opinion in after, this could even maybe be a game that releases on both consoles, right? Like the next-gen console for Xbox. Depends on when that thing comes out, right? I always thought, as the years were going on, that, based off past, gaming generations, it would be 2027 is when we would get the next generations of these consoles. For PlayStation, at least, it looks like 2028. It always seemed like it was also going to be Xbox, though, right? When those documents were kind of coming out for the court case and all that jazz, seems like 2028. So 2027, I don't know if that's because there's been the talk of, well, Xbox isn't really even playing by the same rules. They might have their refresh console, their 1.5 console might just be the next generation for them, and they'll just do it like that. Whereas PlayStation is more, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, right? So a little bit different. So it could happen. Blade could be for both. And they make a good point, right? Once we're talking about these games that are 2027, 2028, games that are 3, 4, 5 years away, and this is crazy, you now have to start thinking of them as potentially cross-gen games or just being on the next generation of consoles. When you think of Red Dead Redemption 3, that thing's not coming out, right, on what we have right now. But you can do that for plenty of games, right? Maybe Mass Effect, maybe, right? But a lot of games that are kind of further out, you really have to start thinking them as, hey, they'll probably be on PS5 and Series X, but also maybe on the next one as well. That doesn't take an insider to tell you that, right? That's just, in my opinion, that's kind of common thought, just something you have to walk yourself into, but it's something to throw out there. So we'll see. I think it makes sense. You give them 5.5 years, comes out in 2027, which, again, to take a little jab, which I guess would be before Mass Effect. Say we come out 2 years before the next Mass Effect game. See, that's why I don't believe that. I think that's complete garbage. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.